Welcome to the More Than Fitness podcast.
Well, would you looky there, guys? No Hawaiian shirt today. Obviously, if you're just listening to this, you have no idea what I'm talking about. However, if you're watching, I am in a beautiful, what do we got? We got a little bit of green, a little bit of teal, turquoise, white. I'm in a tie-dye shirt that my girlfriend made last night. You know, quarantine is going great. We went to Walmart, got some t-shirts, got some sweatpants. She made some tie-dye stuff for us. And I thought, you know what? I don't have to wear a Hawaiian shirt every time I do these. You want to know why? Because it's my show. All right. And with that being said, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Minisode number 25 on the More Than Fitness podcast. I am feeling good, and I've got a great topic for you guys today. And it is about establishing a pretty good daily routine. I say pretty good because the title I had before this was like building a hyper-focused daily routine or something. And then I think about my own daily routine, and it's pretty focused. Don't get me wrong. I'm very big on routine, and whenever I get out of routine, I get kind of out of whack. And I'm always trying to refine it over time. However, to say that it's hyper focused from beginning to end would be a lie. So I decided to go with this one as establishing a pretty good daily routine. Actually, I got into this. I wanted to talk about the subject. Well, one, because a lot of you guys are working from home. I think I ran a poll on my Instagram, and it was like 65% of people are working from home. And that's pretty, it's a pretty significant amount. So I was like, all right, well, I've been working from home forever, basically. And so I was like, all right, maybe I could have a few tips that you guys could use. And also I enjoy reading up on this subject as well. So I've got quite a few different opinions on this. And one book actually that I was going through once again, if you're listening, go watch the YouTube video of this, but it's this book right here. It's by Mason Curry. It's called Daily Rituals, How Artists Work. And it's an amazing book, but basically what it is this guy made an entire book with a conglomerate of different people's daily routines in it, such as like Benjamin Franklin, Carl Jung, there's Beethoven, there's Hemingway, there is Charles Darwin. There's literally, I think, like 100 different people in here. Nikola Tesla. So there's a lot of, pretty important people in here. But the main takeaway that I wanted to get by saying that is that after you read through some of these routines of these very intelligent, highly productive individuals, is that they are all different, and they are all very much contextual to that person in their own experience. With whatever it is that they are trying to accomplish, right? And so for me to come on here and say, you need to do this, as a 26-year-old who works for himself that doesn't have any kids. I have a cat, which I wish Carl would have, some of you guys have seen him on the social media, and you guys love him as well. Thank you for all your amazing comments. He's actually, again, on the video, he's in this bed. He's underneath the bed right next to me. He likes to hide there. He's one or the other. He's either all up in your grill, or he's like completely far away where you can't see him, like under a bed. Anyway, back to the routine. Yes, it's contextual to you. Whatever this is going to take a lot of trial and error. And this is what I've done with my own routine over time is I've figured out what has worked and what hasn't worked. And a lot of that is by observing my day and my mood over time, basically. So for me, I have to do something in the morning as soon as I wake up to get kind of the wheels going. I'm a big momentum person. And so what I do is the very first thing that I do is something that's very, it's pretty highly stimulating in the sense of getting the wheels turning in my head and thinking. And of course, again, this is a luxury, I understand, but maybe some of you guys can make your own version of this. But I'll read I'll watch some type of stimulating podcast or video. But typically it's reading. I've got several books that I'll read, and it gets the wheels going, and it kind of is that little small hump for me to get over to start building some momentum. So if I begin my day reading a few pages, and also while I'm reading, I'm also drinking some caffeine. So it's just kind of a perfect storm of, okay, I'm drinking some caffeine, I'm waking up, I'm getting my mind right, I'm getting the day started. I may go over my, typically what I do is I finish reading, and if I'm not literally, because the reason why I read is because it gets me creative. So I do most of my creative work in the morning, which is creating content, writing, sometimes doing videos, doing stuff, writing emails for clients, answering their questions, some stuff that I can put most of my energy towards. So what happens often is whenever I'm reading is I get an idea, right? I read certain books, not even fitness related, but I read an idea, and it usually do a little bit of lateral thinking there, and it makes me come up with an idea for some content that I think would be useful to you guys. So yeah, I start my day off with something very small that is productive, but it gets the momentum going for the rest of the day. Then after I read, that's whenever I'll get into my most important work for the day, right? So I keep the most important stuff in the beginning when willpower is high. I've got the most energy, also the fewest distractions. Usually my mood is good, and yeah, so that's typically why I put the most important stuff at the beginning. Typically, this works out for most people, but some people may do their best work in the morning, and some people may do their best work at night. If you do your best work at night and you have the ability to do that, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If you get your best work done in the afternoon around the time whenever I'm doing this, so it's like 4 p.m. 5 p.m. It's just I hate the afternoons because it's not like early morning sunshine, but it's also not like nighttime. It's just kind of in the middle. So it's just like, make up your mind. But I just feel weird during this time, and I don't usually do my best work. So figure out how your moods go throughout the day. So another one is another thing that I like to do is, because I had a question here that I got actually from this book. Some of the stuff that I'm talking about is from this book. It's called Keep Going by Austin Kleon. He's one of my favorite authors ever. And he's more of a writer and an artist, like legit artist, like a good drawer. But a lot of my inspiration comes from him. But one of the questions that he asks about daily routines is, are there any silly rituals or superstitions you use? And so for me, I am a big lighting person. I need a lot of light. So whenever I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of natural light, but also I turn a lot of the lights on in my apartment as well. So I need a lot of bright lights to kind of get me going. But also, I'm very big on nature stuff. And so what I'll do, and I think I've said this before in some other podcasts, but I'll literally turn on, so like Planet Earth, for example, on Netflix, right? I don't think it's on there anymore. I think it's like Our Planet or something. But I'll turn that on in the background, and I enjoy seeing that nature in the background. Oh, another one is, I think it's called Extraordinary Homes. It's also on Netflix, but I'll have that playing in the background because there's a lot of beautiful scenery. It almost makes me feel like I'm outside, but I'll have the volume all the way down, and I'll just be listening to whatever, either music or, as of late, it's just been some like waves and shit, just like birds, and it sounds good. So I have all the artificial ways of being in nature because I have lots of lighting. I have the nature on the TV, and then I'm listening to nature in my ear. So I don't know. That's the little weird thing that I do to kind of get me in the right headspace to produce my best work. So whatever it is that you need to do to get you in that headspace of, okay, I'm ready to work and flip that switch to be productive. There's no wrong answers here. So yeah, silly rituals and superstitions. Think about that. I think that's super important to consider because you may need it, right? You may need a Hawaiian shirt, or you may need a tie-dye shirt or something like that. You may need Zion the zebra or a little weird plant, or maybe some Monster, right? Which I'm going to take a sip of. There are no wrong answers. And so the thing with routines is you have limited time, energy, and talents, and the routine is actually going to allow you to take advantage of those qualities, right? So routines actually give you more freedom as opposed to less. People think of having a routine, and some people do really well with scheduling minute by minute everything that they should be doing. And I've tried that, but it just doesn't necessarily, it honestly causes me more stress than not. And maybe I haven't given enough time or something like that, but I've given it a try minute by minute. But mostly what's worked for me is writing down all my things that I need to get done for the day, no matter how small, whatever it is that I would like to get done, either like somewhat in the near future, right? And then I'll have all of those listed out, and then I will prioritize like, okay, what's the 3 top ones that I need to get done today that I could lay my head on the pillow at the end of the day and be like, okay, that was a successful day. Right. And so just 2 or 3 of these things based off of how important they are, how urgent they are, and how long they take. This could be 1 thing. This could be 4 things. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that you would be proud at the end of the day of how that day went in terms of what you got done. Routines actually give you more freedom, not less. And you can structure it however you want. If you want to do it minute by minute, that's great. Do that. If not, I would at least try and make some type of list of tasks, and then you can prioritize it that way. And then okay, by the end of the day, I need to have these things done. That's usually that's what works for me. I think if you want another really good book on this, the one that's more kind of militant about the minute by minute stuff, and I've mentioned it thousands of times, but Deep Work by Cal Newport is a great example of a book that has plenty of examples on how you can really do this to the nth degree and optimize your time. And if you're very neurotic about your time, or if you have very limited time, like maybe I have the luxury of not planning my things minute by minute because I don't have any kids. I've got a cat to take care of, and I live with my girlfriend, and that's basically it. And I have my work, but it's pretty free flowing. But if you don't have that luxury, then maybe planning things minute by minute may be more for you. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend the book Deep Work. And this isn't just if you work at home either. If you work at an office or something like that, eventually you will go back there. Deep Work is the book for you, for sure. And I think one of the biggest things that I got from that book was, and it's the thing that you hear from everybody, but it's just the fact of doing it is the hardest part. And it's just single tasking, right? Making sure that you spend more time doing highly focused work with 0 distractions. So phone off, laptop off, whatever it is, or at least certain websites blocked. There's plenty of things out there. Just you can Google them. There's plenty that will block certain websites for you so that you can spend your time working on what matters most. But typically for me, that ends up being about 60 to 90 minute blocks of really highly focused work. And I will literally have to throw my phone like across the room so that I make sure I don't get on it. And if that's what you have to do, that's okay. No shame. Just do what you need to do, but spend some time single tasking, because whenever you go from one task to another task and you go back and forth in Deep Work, he calls it that there's a tension residue from task to task. And so you bring you're still thinking about the last task you did, and you're not putting in that deep work on the things that matter the most. So the work that you need to get done with the highest amount of quality possible. That's why he calls it deep work. So if you're constantly being distracted, he would call that shallow work, right? And that's whenever we're not producing our best work. And it's important, and it makes sense, because whenever you are in that flow state, which is another great book, Flow, you can just tell the difference in the amount of work that you produce, and also the fulfillment and the pride you get after you get done with that 60 to 90 minute block of like, okay, I put in some really solid work during that time. Which can bring me up to another one, is actually buying a little timer, not your phone. I don't have it around me right now, but typically I do have it. But it's I literally bought one off Amazon. It's just a little plastic clock. It was like $10, I think. And you can set the timer. You can also use this on your laptop. I wouldn't recommend using your phone. But if you can buy the little plastic one, you could set the timer 60, 90 minutes, and then you can actually race against the clock. And whenever you can do that, it turns it into, basically, if you turn it into a game, that can be really helpful because you're like, okay, I have 60 minutes to do this work, and I'm going to try and get done by the end of that 60-minute mark. And one of the last things that I want to talk about is actually however long you think it's going to take you to finish a task, try cutting that in half, because then that really makes you, it's kind of I'm sure many of you have done it whenever you were in college or something. You have a paper due in a week, right? You put it off. And then the night before you magically somehow get it all done within like 3 hours, right? There's some type of law. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but basically the amount of time that we allot ourselves to finish something, that's how long we're going to fill up the space, and that's how long it's going to take us to finish it. So however long you think it's going to take, play a little game with yourself, challenge yourself, and be like, okay, I originally think that this would take me about 60 minutes. Could I get it done in 30? That can be something that can really push you to work more efficiently and more quickly. So yeah, definitely give that a try. Two things left, real quick. One is to make sure that you don't work in the same place that you eat or sleep or something like that. Make sure that you compartmentalize where you work. So I'm in this office right now, working in here. I work in here, but then I eat dinner over there. And then whenever I'm in bed, I go to sleep. That's it. Whenever you compartmentalize, or if you don't compartmentalize and say I work in my bed or something like that, I'm still in that space whenever I'm in bed, right? If I have my laptop in bed or something like that. But if I know once I'm in bed, your mind triggers and you're like, okay, it's time to go to sleep. And that's it. So making sure that you don't blur those lines in your house is going to be very, very helpful. Okay, and lastly, let's see, I'm on time. Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. I always plan on making these things quick, and they always ended up being like 15 to 20 minutes. However, last thing is a quote from this book, Keep Going by Austin Kleon. He said, "What your daily routine consists of is not that important. What's important is that the routine exists. Cobble together your own routine, stick to it most days, break from it once in a while for fun, and modify it as necessary." And I think with that, I'm going to leave you guys. That is how you establish a pretty good daily routine. As always, thank you guys so much for listening and for watching. Until next time.